Thank you so much. Now we got more information about the Student WG in Berlin, a very special project. And of course, you're kindly invited again to be active here, to exchange, to ask questions to the specialists. That's why we're here for. And of course, to be engaged here in the central hub in Berlin, but of course also in the hubs in Vienna, in Essen, in Amsterdam. Well, it's shortly before lunch break. I know it's very difficult. It's kind of to say I'm standing here in front of you, already looking and watching to the buffet, but nevertheless, we still have some things to discuss. And this brings us to the second part of the morning, which brings us also to a thematic shift. We are coming now from overcoming borders to a human-machine interaction and learning topic. So definitely a shift. And we do have a live keynote again by the co-founder of whoelse and the CEO of whoelse, which said the good, the bad and ugly of human-machine interaction. And I think we have him already with us. Yes, Sven Krüger is with us. Lovely to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Katie.
And the stage is yours.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. So the buffet is not served. Relax. Okay, I try to make it as entertaining as possible. I have a Slido question for you. If you listen to the word human-machine interaction, this term, what does it associate in your mind? So if you want to use Slido and give me just your feedback on this term human-machine interaction, what do you associate? While you do that, I start and I bring you some examples for human-machine interaction which are really down to earth to make the topic a little bit more tangible, because it's not the future and not some space stuff, it's really everyday stuff. So some people, if they are driving their cars, they're really immersed with the machine. This is human-machine interaction at its best, and they are able to control a lot of panels within the car while driving even. So this is kind of human-machine interaction. We have some weird human-machine interactions like talking to puppets, which might be okay if it wouldn't be the Deputy Secretary of the United Nations or the Chancellor of Germany, but still we have this phenomenon. We have over-exaggerated expectations in how robots will look like in the future and what they will do, pictures like this. And of course we have the real robots which are working for us today. They are not really interacting with humans. It's much too dangerous because there's a lot of power in these machines. So usually they are caged, but we're going to see robots like these which are working together with humans, like cobots. This is an example from Deutsche Post, and in this case I highlighted who's the bot in this picture, because if you look closer it's maybe a little weird. Anyhow, these are all examples. Also, this is a human-machine interaction, a rather dull one. It's kind of complicated, not so immersive, but it is. And then we have very passionate human-machine interactions where people also interact with machines and they're passionate about it and they make money out of it and they love what they are doing, and the product is also usually very nice. But also this tends to get more digital right now and of course also in the future. And this is of course what I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about digital human-machine interaction. So this is the stuff that we do mostly on our smartphones, tablets and notebooks. And I brought you a small picture. So if you would like to recognize this, every kind of digital interaction is done via this concept. So you will always have people who are involved in a process with the machines, and during this process you will encounter different elements, like there has to be security involved, there has to be some kind of monitoring and data analytics to make the service more up to date, to make updates and configurations. There will always be maintenance in the services to make the updates possible. There will be customer service, and of course there is usually a commerce platform behind that because somebody has to pay for it. So whenever you see any kind of digital interaction, it will function after this model. Of course, if you do that nowadays, it's almost every time done with the support of artificial intelligence. So there are data models, there are algorithms, and we use tons of data. And we just heard the example from the WG, and it was kind of like, yeah, we have to live with the fact that my data goes everywhere. So, I mean, to be honest, it's kind of we're taking hostage by machines right now, and some things that we do, we really do it the way machines need us to do it. And I think this is something which will turn in the future. We will take much more care to design processes and machines the way we want them to function and not they want us to function. For example, if I have to say, hey, Google, then it's kind of an invasion of this brand into my everyday life, forcing me to say tons of times Google every day. Why should I do that? I mean, I don't say Coca-Cola all the time if I want to have a drink. So. Whenever you work with AI, you have to take care of bias because it's in our society, it's in our minds, it's in our behavior, and of course, it's in the data and in the algorithms. It's unavoidable. So you have to take care of it. If you don't, it will get amplified. And amplified bias really has some very nasty outcomes. Maybe you know the picture. This is Tay, the infamous chatbot from Microsoft. It's no longer online. It was just online for 1 day in 2016. And it took the society and the bias in society only 24 hours to make this cute chatbot a homophobic racist, which had to be taken down from the net. It's just an example of how bias works and how bias gets amplified if we don't take care of it. Now, it's going to be a bots world in the future. This is figures from 2019, and it shows, I mean, 2019 was a year when there was more human traffic on the net than bot traffic, which is not usual. We had also years where we had more bot traffic on the net than human traffic. And 2019, it was like this. Please pay attention to the red and the green sector. You can see that 2/3 of bot traffic on the internet is bad bot traffic. Now, what's a bad bot? Let's talk a little bit about these bots. They're the good bots. They're really boring because they just do what we want them to do. It's like in your life, yeah. If you just function, do what you're expected to do, nobody takes care and notices you. If you are a misfit, if you don't function, then people will start to notice you. So we look at the bad bots. They're not really that bad, but they're kind of commercial and sometimes annoying. They scrape the internet for data. Sometimes they get paid. Sometimes we have companies who use bad bots as a service. So they just scrape prices from websites to make sure that their task manager is the one who has the best prices on the net. And of course, they are distorting the statistics of your website. If you have a big commerce website and you have a lot of bots visiting your website, then of course this bot traffic is in your statistics. And if you misjudge it for human traffic, then you might come to the wrong conclusions when analyzing your data site statistics. Now, the real ugly bots, these are the ones. They are really hard to detect sometimes because they act like humans, which means the first line, attacking sites at application layer. Application layer is the layer where humans interact with machines. This is when I go on a website and I go with my mouse on a button and click or enter something on the keyboard. And bots, really ugly and elevated bots these days, they do it just like humans do. So for somebody who is owning a website, it's not really transparent if there's a bot coming in or if it's a human. So this is kind of bad. Sometimes these bots, they buy stuff that is limited on the web, for example, airplane tickets, concert tickets, sometimes expensive sneakers. So in a fraction of a second, 1,000 sneakers are bought by a bot and then get resold for a much higher price. This is kind of annoying for the one who wants to sell the sneakers for themselves and of course for the ones who want to buy the sneakers for a lower price. Then they do copying websites and whole shops, which means that you want to enter a shop and you are on a website which is not the real website, but it's a copied one. And then you enter your login data, maybe your credit card information, and so then it ends up usually in credit card fraud. And it's also really, well, it's more than annoying. It's really a damage which is caused. Also because bad bots or ugly bots are looking for leakages and private networks, and if they find someone, they explore the data behind this wall, and usually this data gets sold somewhere. This is mostly connected to a big reputation damage for the company that is inflicted. Then we have ad fraud. If you are an advertiser and you buy advertisement on the web, then there are bots who click on your ad like 1,000 times and you get nothing for it because you want to have consumers or interested people clicking on your ad and not some programmed bots. So this is ad fraud. And then the most violent thing is the distributed denial of service attacks. These are botnets, like hundreds of millions of bots, maybe on your computers. And they attack websites in a way that they just visit the site and put a request to get information. And if hundreds of millions of site requests attack or hit a web server, usually the server breaks down. So this is just taking someone out of business. This would be like if you have a store in the city of Berlin and I come to your front door and just close it, so customers cannot visit you anymore. This is really a bad thing. If you have a big e-commerce site, this really hurts a lot. Then we have bots which are more prominent right now because we are all of us are more or less often on social networks, and there we have these bots who just distribute, I don't know, conspiracy theories, just fake news in terms of, like maybe you read that last weekend where someone said President Trump arrived in Berlin. This is just a fake news, and that gets amplified through the social network. And sometimes this stuff is put on the net by bots. So fake news and fake politics come from that. Usually they copy accounts, which means that maybe your account gets copied, your name gets twisted just a little bit, and then the account on the net looks like yours, but it's not yours. It's an automated account. It's posting content, is even answering to questions. So whenever you interact with a person on the internet, on a social network, which seems a little bit strange to you, maybe look a little bit closer on the profile. Usually you can detect that if nobody else follows, or if it's really strange sites that gets followed, or if the answers are really short and simple, then it's usually bots. So this is the reason why we all love captchas. I guess you all encountered this already. Does anyone know here what a captcha is? What does it mean? It's a it's a kind of weird acronym. It means completed automated public Turing tests to tell computers and humans apart. This is really what captcha means. Okay, so it's a Turing test to distinguish between humans and bots, and it's really often used because of all the ugly bot activities that I just mentioned to you. Now, let's meet a good bot, a great bot. This is Jim. It's the service bot of Lemonade. Lemonade is an insurance company. And Jim got kind of famous when one day he received an insurance claim from a customer. And Jim took 3 seconds to make a proof of 18 different requirements for this claim and then send out the money. So after 3 seconds, the customer got an email from Jim. And usually, if you send something to a commerce and you get an answer 3 seconds later, you usually think that's the mail confirming that your mail arrived. In this case, it was the bot confirming that 791 euros were transferred to the customer's account, which of course is very nice. And that's a really good bot. Now, I'm here as a startup co-founder, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about our startup, because what we believe is that the future is voice. The future will be voice commerce and voice interaction with machines. We heard that already, saying, hey Google, say, hey Siri. So our vision is, in the future, every first contact will be a bot contact. We are moving towards an IoT world where we have between 50 to 70 billion connected devices during the next few years. And this is, of course, just the beginning. So there will be billions and billions of devices who are connected with each other and who exchange data. And they will do this on a more and more voice-based platform if it's an exchange with humans. So this is the most natural way for humans to communicate, so we will do that with machines in the future. But the problem today is that we have these systems already, like Alexa or like Google Assistant, but we really don't know what to talk to them and what to ask them. So it's usually, hey, can you turn on the lights? Hey, what time is it? Can you give me the weather forecast? What are the news? It's not really interesting stuff. It's not really enriching our lives so far. Much more is possible if we get a little bit more used to that and if the assistants get a little bit more smart. Because how many times do you hear the answer, sorry, I didn't get that? And so this is going to change, but right now we have also the problem on the manufacturing side that if you want to do voice business, with whom will you do it? If you don't want to go to Amazon and to Google, then you have a cacophony of suppliers out there. It's more than 1,000 right now who offer you AI services with voice, and they're growing every day. So it's really complicated if you are a supplier and maybe you operate in international markets. With whom do you want to do that? Like, for example, if you are a car manufacturer and you want to sell your car in China, in Hungary, and in Spain, then you have to be aware that in each country, for each of your services, there's a different AI market leader. So you have to make contracts with each of them, and maybe your service is different in each country. which is okay, but makes it really complicated and very slow and very expensive for you to integrate this business. Now, there are people outside who talk about this and who are very innovative, and they say, hey, wouldn't it be a good idea if we would have a universal language which both artificial intelligence and humans can use as a protocol to understand each other? I mean, we would say, let's make Siri and Alexa talk to each other. And this is exactly what we do. We offer a shared protocol for natural language processing, so AI gets interoperable. And in the end, what comes out is that if you talk to your assistant, then usually it's not something like a conversation. Most people don't really want to talk to bots. I don't talk to my bot because I would like to have a nice conversation. Then I would talk maybe to Matthias. But the idea is that I have a request, I want something, I have an intent. And what the protocol does is extracting the intents out of what I say to the machine, and then the intent gets dispatched to another machine who can really fulfill what I want to have. So this is the model in a nutshell. I have a user request, for example, I want a pizza, or I want to get from here to Munich. And so the protocol does nothing else than extracting from, hey, AI, I want to order a cheese pizza. Okay, it's pizza, it's delivery, who else? And with this term, we can dispatch the question for a pizza to the service who maybe can deliver a pizza, which would not be DHL, but which would be maybe Foodora or Hello Pizza or whoever. So that's the idea behind that. That's more or less the same on a more technical basis. So what we did to begin with is we tried to make a vocabulary with the 150 most used intents in different languages to automate the first step. So you talk to somebody, you talk to an app, or you talk to a machine. Probably one of these 150 most used intents is also what you intend, and then we can dispatch it via all the different ecosystems which are voice-based and which are out there. And you don't have to take care about that. If you're a supplier, then you are not you don't have to rely on Google, you don't have to rely on Amazon, you can make your own data model and data-driven business. And this will be, of course, grow in the future. Just take the pandemic, for example. COVID is really pushing contactless interfaces. So if you can talk to a machine, you don't have to touch it. This is really something interesting. I read an interesting caption last week, actually, from somebody who said, obviously, on a party in New York, hey, this is really a strange time. Last year, we were sniffing cocaine from a toilet seat, and now we are afraid to touch the elevator button. It's an extreme example, but it's somehow true, isn't it? So if you have a voice interface that's contactless, you enter the elevator and say, hey, come on, take me to 10th floor. Same you can see on the ecosystem of chatbots, like Amazon, for example. They are right now setting up consortia to make these protocols intelligible to each other. But then again, it's an industry initiative, so in the end it will be industry-driven, and in this case it's driven by the biggest retailer in the world. I mean, imagine Amazon in Germany alone, it's 48% of all retail turnover in Germany. 48% of everything that's gone through retail. It's amazing. And then, of course, analysts have found that this is an interesting thing. Marketing has found out, okay, we can earn money with that, so let's find out more about what is voice telling me about the customer, like the way people speak, biometric information. This is also something which is kind of important if you talk about data protection, data security, and with the whoelse protocol, this does not get transferred. So if you talk to the machine, we won't transfer your voice input, we only will transfer the intents which gets extracted from that. So what did we do so far in 2018? End of 2018, we had the first MVP. That's just a small app showing how it works. Then half a year later, we started working on the standard together with DIN, the Deutsches Institut für Normung here in Berlin. Then we presented the first results at O'Reilly AI Europe. That's one of the biggest AI conferences in the world. And then we got accepted for 3 accelerator programs. We took 2 of these and joined Telekom Hubraum last year in fall. And this year in March and spring, we would have traveled to Toronto to join Next AI in Canada, but it wasn't possible because of the pandemic. So maybe next year And just 2 weeks ago, the standard was released, so it's out there. Everyone can use it. And next step is to go from a DIN standard, from a German standard, to an international standard. So it will be a worldwide thing everyone can use. It's open source. You are not connected to anyone. You can just build your own stuff with that. And now the next goal is to find 3 companies who produce hardware and who are willing and interested in building up proof of concepts with us to find out what it's about. And of course, it's about raising seed money. So if there's a VC in the audience, just talk to me. This is the team. It's maybe not that interesting. The idea is voicify your business, maybe voicify your conference, and maybe make it a little bit more tangible. Just imagine this year, I think end of week, IFA will start. It's the biggest consumer fair in Germany and maybe also in Europe, I'm not sure. And for 10 years now, I think, for 10 years at IFA, you can buy this fridge that orders stuff on the internet. You remember that? You read about that? I think it's like at least 10 years. And do you know anybody, or maybe any one of you, who has such a fridge? No, of course not. Nobody has such a fridge except for the people who produce it. Why is that? I mean, for the past, it's easy to answer because it just was not possible to do it. Because then you had the fridge, but there was no connection and there was no one who was delivering. Now, 2020, all this is possible. There's internet connection, there's bandwidth everywhere, and we have, at least in Berlin, at least a dozen services who deliver food and all kinds of stuff to your door. Now, today it's possible, and now imagine you buy this fridge, or maybe you are a producer of fridges. Let's say you are Miele. And Miele says, hey, I want to have this fridge and I want to sell it, and it's ordering on the internet. And the great thing would be if I could just talk to the fridge. Hey, fridge, I need more butter, I need milk, I need whatever. And then the fridge would just order the stuff. I mean, the usual scenario would be maybe, hey, fridge, can you go to my grocery list and just find out what is missing? And then the fridge, there has some cameras in it and some scales who weigh the tablets. And so the fridge can tell you, okay, yeah, there are usually like 57 different items in here. And I know that because I'm operating here for 3 months and it's always the same stuff in here. And he usually puts it on the same place in the fridge. So the fridge knows exactly what to do. And then the next step, of course, would be not making the list, but then ordering the stuff which is on the list. But now, if you are Miele, how do you do that? If you don't have your own AI department who is intelligible with voice commerce, who has natural language processing know-how, then you have to do it via another supplier. And these suppliers are usually today Amazon or Google. So what happens then? If Miele goes to Amazon, then Miele would not be able to decide, hey, I want to make a contract with Rewe or with Edeka to get the groceries. No, of course, Amazon would decide where to order, and maybe it would be Amazon Fresh. Hey, what a surprise. And next thing is, maybe Miele thought about getting something like a data-driven business model out of the information that the fridge collects. This is not possible because the fridge became something like a microphone for an American company. So there's really some useful thought behind the idea of an open standard, which makes you independent from such big American players. And this is something I would leave you with. Voicify your business and keep it your business. Thank you.
Sven Krüger. No, you're not done yet. No. We do have a session with questions now.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Don't run away.
Yeah.
No. It's time for you guys, the participants, and of course the remotees, send questions later in the live stream up on the second floor. But now the live audience is kindly invited to ask your questions. So if you have any questions, let us know. We do have a microphone. Sarah has the microphone. Not yet? All right. Then we are live, of course, in Amsterdam and Vienna. We start with Amsterdam. Nico, are there any questions from the Netherlands coming to Berlin?
Yes, definitely. We have a question. We're wondering if all those machines become more and more intelligent, when will they take over and make the humans become obsolete so that they start talking to each other and they don't need us at all anymore? Are you afraid of that?
No, I'm not. I think that's really a dystopic fantasy and nothing more. It's science fiction, and you can make great film scripts out of that, but it's got really nothing to do with reality, because I mean we are really in a human created, driven, focused world, and also AI is nothing else than a copy, really a bad copy of human thinking and acting. So, no, I don't see this as a threat. This will just not happen.
Okay.
Thank you for giving us a little bit of reassurance.
Nico, thank you for your question. Are there any more questions from the Netherlands, from Amsterdam?
Not at this moment. Thank
Not right now, maybe in another round. Vienna, you are with us live again. What do you think?
Hello again from Vienna. We have a question from the audience, and it's regarding the training of the bots. Is it needed to train a bot as well? And if yes, is it done by a human, or is it a machine again who is training the bot?
It depends. Of course, if you have a bot, then you have to train it. Every kind of artificial intelligence needs to be trained. Otherwise, it's really, really dumb. I mean, I once invented, or I did not invent it, but I had a chatbot project with T-Systems. It was an HR chatbot who was answering questions from people who were interested in joining the company. And before we put it out on the internet, we had to train it, and we trained it internally. So we asked every guy in the HR department to just interact with the bot. And it was kind of interesting because during the first few days, they all said, okay, you can throw it away. It cannot do anything. It's really dumb. I'm kind of irritated how dumb the system is. But of course, I mean, it knows nothing. It learns from your inputs, and it gets more smart every day. So yeah, you have to train it. And usually, if it's trained by humans, then it gets better results in interaction with humans. If you train it with a machine, it's probably it's probably faster. And today, usually we have deep learning systems who evolve with the learning process. So they get better and better, and they learn from their own interactions. Take the example of these incredible AIs that, for example, beat somebody at chess or Go or whatever game you have. They just nowadays they just play with themselves. You just teach them the rules of the game, and they start playing with themselves. And after a few hours, a few days, they're unbeatable by humans. So yeah, if you train with a human, then you get good results with a human. If you train rule-based with a machine, you're much faster.
Is there a second question from Vienna? Not now. Thank you very much. I have another question. So when we're talking about different contexts, of course, of borderless contexts, but this is an idea. You were mentioning your theory. Every first contact will be a bot contact.
Yeah.
This is the goal. How far, where is Germany compared to other countries and compared to other communities, of course?
That's a funny question, because I always wonder about these national AI strategies. It's not a national thing. It's a technological thing. I work with data scientists and data analysts in Berlin, and that's the most diverse society or community I ever encountered so far. There are people from Russia, from Spain, from Brazil, from China, from Germany. It's between 25 and 55. It's maybe a little more women than men, actually. It's not a question about is it Germany or France or the US or China.
So what is it then? What is your main question that keeps you awake at night?
I don't have a question. I just wait for the thing to happen. For example, I would disagree that there's a big bang, like we heard in the morning. There will be a big bang with mixed reality stuff. And I don't believe in a big bang. It's a slow but steady process. It's like self-driving cars. There will not be a big bang like you wake up next year in September and suddenly all self-driving cars are running around. No, it will be a process over the next 20 to 30 years. More and more autonomous functions are getting integrated, and that someday you enter the car and you don't drive any longer by yourself. And the same is with these bots and on all kinds of services. There's always new inventions coming up, and you get used to them really, really fast. And once there's a critical mass of people who are used to it, then it's a commercial thing which can be charged for, and then it's integrated in our society in everyday life.
COVID-19, the global pandemic, brought a little bit of speed into your business, I would say. But what is currently a big obstacle for you to go further?
It's actually also COVID-19, because otherwise probably you would be in Canada talking to other great startups in the accelerator program and getting seed money. But yeah, I mean, it's always both. I mean, it's speeding up digitalization, but only in terms of that everyone is working from home right now, mostly. I mean, what else aspect of digitalization was really sped up by COVID-19? I mean, except for you couldn't buy a Logitech camera or a microphone in April. I'm not sure about this thesis, but I see the spirit, and this is of course nice. So what's slowing down? It's still the unbelievable slowness and also reluctance of people to really get involved with technology and to embrace the change which is inevitable. The change will come. We cannot do anything about it. It will come. So this is also we had this quote from Achim Berg. It's time now for change. No, it's not now. It's like for the last 100 years, we had change all over the place, all over the time. So if you are staying where you are, then it's going to be harder and harder year by year.
But where do you see, is it rather an educational thing?
Yes.
Or is it a human thing to be more brave and more courageous?
If you ask this way, of course, it's a human thing. It's a psychological thing. We don't like change. I mean, humans don't like change. It's like your cat. Your cat does not like to have the food served in a different place every day, same as we do. And the next thing is, at some point we think that we have gotten to know the world, that we just got it, we know how it works. And then suddenly it changes, and we don't know how it works anymore. So this is really uncomfortable. So this stresses us out. And then it's an educational thing. And this starts really very early in life, because when children come into this life, they are really open and they try out everything. I mean, you heard this example from that children are falling down like a few hundred times and then they get up. I mean, humans, if they fail for a few hundred times, they usually give up. So, I mean, it's not in our genes that we give up. That we learn that, we get educated that way. That if something does not work, then you are a failure, you are a loser, and then you better do something else. So you give up. So it's a thing that is in our culture, in our mindset, and
but you're talking about it of our culture.
Yeah.
It's a German culture, maybe, and then it brings us again to nationalities. So, is it that easy?
I think that's very. I don't know if it's that easy, but it's very. That's a very big part of it, and I'm not sure if this is a German thing. That if you fail like a few hundred times, or maybe a few times only, with something you try as an adult person. I think that's an international phenomenon, that people then believe that you're a failure.
There's a lot to discuss. Thank you so much, Sven Krüger.
Thank you.
And you're going to be in the Speaker's Corner. Yes, a round of applause. Thank you so much.